Real quick, it just came out this morning that Google Stadia is launching November 19th.
I'm ready.
Are you?
I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad the internet all got together and decided to eliminate bandwidth caps next month.
Right,
we did it.
We did it.
Hooray.
The internet changed. Yeah. I feel like I was still waiting for more from Google on that front in terms of, hey, we've done the fucking nasty anti-net neutrality. Like, we've embedded all these things at your ISP and they're like zero rating the traffic, and so it doesn't count against your cap. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like all these other deals to make that thing viable, but instead,
it's been oddly quiet.
Just here to go.
Yeah.
They might argue that, I mean, what is the kind of founders? Oh, it is called Founders
Yeah,
Edition.
this is like,
they might argue this is kind of an early launch for people who wanted to buy into the Founders program.
Sure.
Not the.
But this is the thing they've been marketing to.
Oh, yeah.
They marketed to sign up today.
I'm not saying they should be allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that they would try to make that argument probably. Because when is the...
sometime next year, you'll be able to play it without buying their Founders Edition stuff.
The full-on wide-scale launches next year sometime.
And that pack, I pre-ordered one. It's like a controller and a Chromecast.
Yep.
And it'll also work on like Google Pixel phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3A and up, I think.
Yeah.
I saw Kyle Orland from Ars Technica on Twitter today making the argument that, like, I hadn't really thought about, but I think he's totally right that a lot of people probably still think of Stadia as a kind of Netflix for games.
Right,
like
and
I think
it's not.
Like
The
story that you still have to pay full price for all of these games. That there is no global just like monthly fee to play everything on the service.
Right.
I don't feel like has really gotten through to a lot of people.
And the Pro tier will get you some games.
Yeah.
But not.
I don't think it was a very impressive list.
I'm not actually sure what the list is. I know like Destiny is like the full.
You mean the free to play game?
The full pack. Well, with all the add-ons and stuff. Like it's.
I think that's included in the Founders Edition.
Right. Exactly.
I think you're right.
But yeah. So yes, and I was thinking about that this morning, and why it's so fundamentally different from like let's say like the Project X Cloud stuff, or even like PlayStation Now to a certain extent, because of stuff like Game Pass and stuff like, hey, you may have already bought a lot of these games and they work because it's all part of this ecosystem that has been doing games for a decade.
Yeah.
And Stadia coming in brand new and basically opening up a game store for streaming games makes that thing feel way more fraught. That's a way tougher sell, because then it's like, okay, here's like, you think people hate installing a fucking second app store on their computer to play video games. Now you've suddenly got games locked up in a cloud streaming service that seems like, oh, this will probably work, but you know, is Google going to cut and run on this and take all my games with them?
Right.
Like everything about this just ratchets up that under that circumstance and becomes like, oh, you have to really believe in this thing to truly feel good about investing deeply in that storefront.
Yeah, because like with a like a Game Pass or a PlayStation Now, like there's an explicit understanding when you sign up for that monthly fee that you're not going to own any of those games, right? Like you know exactly what you're getting into.
Right.
Like you're saying, yeah, I'm comfortable with Apple Arcade or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm comfortable paying X dollars a month to play these games, knowing that if I stop paying, I will not get to play them anymore.
Right.
Here, they're asking you to buy the game at full price, and then still be at their mercy to ever play it.
Right.
Like they like you said, they could pull out of that business, or there could just be like server outages or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just can't play the game even though you quote unquote bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a way tougher proposition.
And you know, they had Doom as one of their big launch games, and now that's off.
Yeah.
And like what they showed, they had the custom mode for Breakpoint. Right. That was the like picture in picture stuff of like, you can see what your people in your squad are doing. Unfortunately, it's Breakpoint. Didn't exactly take off.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Stadia version of Breakpoint is going to like suddenly resell everybody on the concept based on like, well, I can see what everybody's doing. Like it's, you know, the software lineup or the things that have happened with the software between E3 and now have not really done them any favors either.
Yeah.
We'll see how the thing goes. Like it feels like there's 0 to negative buzz about their negative latency.
Right.
Negative latency.
It's fucking ridiculous.
What a tremendous term. What a tremendous term.
Yeah.
I want that thing to work. I you know, like there should be more players in the video game space than the people that are there now. You know, like I don't want to shit on it just for the sake of shitting on it. I just think they've done a pretty bad job, and I think that like what they're selling is kind of a tough sell, based on what you're saying. Like the idea of just like, hey, you still need to buy these games.
Yeah.
That means you need to be a big believer in Stadia as a concept day one.
Yep.
Otherwise, enjoy Destiny 2. And
it's kind of a tough sell.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough sell. Yeah. As someone who has multiple ways to play Destiny 2.
I wonder if it's inevitable for them to just move to the service model. Like once this thing gets off the ground.
Maybe that's like their phase 2. Like maybe they're eventually like, of course this is ridiculous.
Because that seems like the only way anybody in their right mind would actually accept this.
Where they offer like a Game Pass type thing, but it's only a limited
$10 a month for here's some games you can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like, that makes way more sense than having to a la carte buy every game on the service and still.
Or if they were able to do something of just like, hey, and you can play your Steam if you are paying us on the paid tier of Google Stadia Pro or whatever the fuck they call it, you can access. If a game is on our service that is in your Steam library, you can play it.
Yeah,
right.
Like that would be enough, I think. If it was like,
I think Rockstar does something similar with their launcher. They kind of scan your local database, and if you have Bully, if you have Vice City, it'll pop up in their launcher.
Origin did that when they launched. It was like, hey, if you have any Steam keys for EA games, punch them in over here, and we'll build your we'll try to build your library.
Transfer some of your old EA games over.
Yeah. They need something like that, some kind of partner with it. I don't know if that's a partnership with Valve or what it is, but they need something that's like, hey, here's a way to get people to sign up for our service. And once they're in with some chunk of their existing game library, then maybe you can sell them some extra stuff, right? Because you've built up a library there already, and maybe you're like, oh, well, I got 20 games I can play.
And hopefully people are confident in the quality of the service.
Yeah, assuming the service works and all that stuff. Like, obviously.
Fingers crossed.
But like that's they need something like that to like, oh, we partnered with Ubisoft and your whole Uplay, Matt Rory will be psyched. But
it's weird thinking back to that announcement stream they did and how excited we were about like the hardware that they were building on the back end and like some of the features they were touting and like
even the library.
I don't feel like we haven't seen any of that stuff come to fruition. Like no exclusive games, no games that use some of those interesting features.
There was like no follow up,
right?
They're like, here's our announcement. And they've done, one round of interviews since E3 that we ended up not taking because nothing had changed with the service. It wasn't like there was like on the backs of like another big announcement. It was just like, do we want to have the same conversation with the same person that we had at E3? It's like, like, I don't know that there's much more to say other than X amount of time has passed and boy, nothing has changed. What do you got now? Like, that's the bizarre thing to me. Yeah. Or that's the thing that like sounds some alarm bells is just like, oh, this seems like something that they should be better at doing. And video games are hard. It's a weird business.
Yeah, totally.
It's a weirdly specific business.
It's just that when you're out
hire
there
enough people that have experience in this weird business that you'd think that they would sidestep some elements of that. But
or more to the point when you're at the point where you're asking for $130 from people to use this thing, like you need something to bring to the table. I don't feel like there's much yet.
But if they get to the other end of it and, hey, it's as easy as opening a web browser and you can play a game, that becomes appealing to people who didn't invest in a gaming PC.
Sure.
That starts to hold that appeal. It's just whether that holds the same appeal as what Microsoft will offer, where they've just got more experience in games and they've got a library and they've got the relationships and they've got all that stuff in place.
Yeah.
Where Google's stuff right now just feels half there, I guess. And it's Google, so maybe at some point they'll just like open a wallet and everything will change.
Yeah,
like, well, fuck, whatever.
I was just about to say, like, there may be vectors for them to access the market that we're not even thinking about. Like,
totally.
maybe next year TVs start shipping with Stadia clients built in.
Yeah, why not?
And then you just play the game straight on your TV, and then everybody has it or something.
Like that's the dream, right? And that's what developers want is the abilities to access markets that they can't already access.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the downside of Microsoft's strategy to some extent is just like, oh, well, they've been selling games for 10 years. Like it's already well established. Can they grow beyond that? How will they do it? What devices will they get it onto? And how ubiquitous will that be? Will the Microsoft app end up on TVs and all that other stuff?
Yeah. I saw the public beta for the xCloud stuff has started.
Yeah.
People that got in, apparently it's NDA'd, so I haven't seen anybody who's in it talking about it.
Yeah,
but,
I see that.
People are playing it in their homes now.
I want to check it out.
Yeah, I think we've said several times it was pretty impressive at E3.